Let's discuss this further now with Munir Nuseibah in occupied East Jerusalem. He's a human rights lawyer and assistant professor at Quds University's Department of Law. Munir, thanks so much for joining us on this news hour. Now, when it comes to this reported full occupation of Gaza, and it is something that we still haven't confirmed because it's coming from one source in Israel. But if that was to happen, are there any legalities around it that actually make this legal in any way?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Well, first of all, I think it's very important to stress that the occupation of Gaza has never stopped. In fact, the status of the Gaza Strip currently in its entirety is indeed occupied. This has been confirmed not only by the UN Security Council, General Assembly, Human Rights Council, but also by the International Court of Justice in 2024, which has first confirmed the status of Gaza Strip as occupied territory, and also declared that this occupation is contrary to international law, and that Israel must end its occupation to the Gaza Strip, to the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, as soon as possible. Based on that, the United Nations General Assembly in September issued a resolution and gave Israel 12 months to end its occupation. Unfortunately, which does not seem to be happening, as Israel is seems to be planning to control more neighborhoods of the Gaza Strip. So it's first very important to remind that Gaza is occupied. We're not talking about any reoccupation of Gaza. It has the same status as the West Bank and Jerusalem that are also occupied. But the discussion is whether the Israeli army is going to be controlling more and more neighborhoods, are going to be policing the Palestinian population, are going to have their troops within Palestinian residential areas, all of which have been already destroyed, but also to be within the areas where people have taken refuge. Now, given the fact that the occupation is there, the occupation is illegal, it's also important to note that the military campaign that Israel has been waging in the occupied Palestinian territory, especially in the Gaza Strip, is genocidal. The Israeli war has been mainly against the Palestinian civilians, that Israel has been, on the one hand, starving, on the other hand, demolishing their property, their homes, their schools, their hospitals. Every aspect of life in the Gaza Strip has been destroyed. And this is exactly why this campaign that Israel has been waging in the Gaza Strip is seen as a genocidal campaign by almost every expert on genocide, but also almost every human rights organization that has investigated this issue, as well as other experts.
Munir, when we look at the conversations that seem to be being held now among Israeli society and as well as senior politicians, there's clear differences between the way the army seems to want to move forward in Gaza and the way that Netanyahu and some members of his government want to do. Could we see a stage where the army just goes against Netanyahu completely? Because there definitely seems to be a rift right now in what both sides want.
I would doubt this. I think that the Israeli army would eventually abide by Netanyahu's orders, but the army has learned a lot of lessons over a prolonged period of occupation in Palestine. After the Oslo peace process, the Israeli army has changed the rules of engagement with the Palestinian population. It stopped being present in most of the areas that are inhabited by Palestinians. This, of course, is a much more comfortable way of occupation for the Israeli army. It works, from outside these residential areas, controlling the population in many other different ways. I believe the Israeli army does not want to be again engaged within Palestinian neighborhoods, policing individuals and groups, but also I'm sure that there is, a division about the plan of the Israeli occupation. What seems to be Netanyahu's plan is what the Israeli government has been talking about, the re-establishment of colonial settlements in the Gaza Strip and the displacement of the Palestinian population from the Gaza Strip. So what the Israeli government seems to be going forward with is the Smotrich and Ben Gvir and other Israeli politicians who plan that basically wants the Israeli army to be policing the Palestinian population out of the Gaza Strip, forcing them out. Now, whether they call it voluntary migration or forcible displacement is irrelevant. At the end of the day, it is the crime against humanity of forcible displacement of civilian populations, because Israel is creating unbearable conditions to the Palestinian population who are living in the Gaza Strip in a way that does not allow them to continue to live in the Gaza Strip. And the Israeli government seems to be wanting to finish this project to force the Palestinian population out, to make sure that there is space for recolonizing the Gaza Strip, maybe in a way that is uglier than what used to be before 2005.
And Munir, there is a lot of domestic pressure in Israel right now for this war to end. Many of the families of those hostages still in Gaza want them to be brought back, and therefore they want this war to end. But that domestic pressure doesn't seem to have influenced Benjamin Netanyahu very much, as well as the continued international condemnation of the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Why is this the case, that he's facing so much pressure, yet it hasn't done anything to make him stop this war?
Because it's not pressure. Pressure would mean that if you are committing a crime and if you are violating law, you have to pay a price for this violation of law. The unfortunate reality is that Israel is not paying a price or is not paying a sufficient price for its genocide and other crimes in the Gaza Strip. The pressure is mainly oral. There is condemnation, there is criticism, there are reports, but there are no sanctions. Why would Netanyahu respond to these speeches if he doesn't see that that they are actually threatening Israeli interests around the world? The reality is that in most countries around the world, until today, the Israeli relations with these countries are still normal. There is still trade. Israel is still able to receive weapons from most countries around the world. It's able to export its weapon technology as well to many countries around the world. So in addition to other types of trade that are still going on. So as long as these relationships are still normal and prosperous, there is no real pressure on Israel to end this genocide. So that's what we, that's the real reason.
Thank you so much for giving us your analysis, Munir Nuseibah there in occupied East Jerusalem for us.